Today, we're going to shift the economy because we saw a very disappointing jobs report. 210,000 jobs were added last month. That's good for the people who found them, but that is way below the 550,000 jobs that analysts were expecting. It's not all bad news. The unemployment rate did tick down, decreased to 4.2% from 4.6%. A notable number of jobs in some sectors saw the biggest gains, including professional and business services, transportation and warehousing, construction and manufacturing. So there are jobs out there, just not as many as people were hoping. Joining us now is Hitha Herzog, a retail analyst with H² Research and ABC News business correspondent Deirdre Bolton. So, Deirdre, let me begin with you. As we said, this is a disappointing report. Now, we should caution, a lot of these reports get revised 30 days later, way up, way down. It seems like they're having trouble measuring what's actually happening in real time. But right now, it is considerably below what the analysts thought. So what stands out to you about it?
Terry, it's a mixed picture, and you highlighted those two key figures that matter the most. So that is to say the number of jobs added to the U.S. economy was less than half of the median estimate by economists. But the silver lining in this is exactly what you also highlighted, which is that unemployment rate, which is falling 4.2%. That's great. That is a huge move in the right direction. We're getting very close to the pre-pandemic low of 3.5%. So it does show improvement. Larger context here, this is a huge economic experiment, what we have done. We have never just shut down an entire economy before and then little by little tried to open up. So it does feel like being in the front seat of a car with somebody who is trying to learn how to drive a manual kind of motor, if you like, where there are a lot of fits and starts, jumps and starts. There is some progression in some areas, some regression in others. As for number of jobs, I also wanted to kind of leave you with this larger statistic as well. And that is to say we have recuperated more than 80% of the jobs lost during the worst part of the pandemic. So to be precise, 82%. So we are still missing about 4 million jobs from the U.S. economy, a ton better than the 22 million plus that was the case at the worst point during the pandemic, Terry.
Deirdre, did I just hear you reference a stick shift? You're aging yourself now. We
I
all
sure
started
did.
out on the
Don't drive with me. Quick tip.
It's true.
Yes, you live in New York. I understand. All right, Hitha, jobs were added in many sectors, but strangely enough, employment in retail declined, even as the holiday season approaches. So what's going on?
I think people simply, there's just such a dearth of jobs, and retailers are having a very hard time recruiting potential workers into those slots. I think it's becoming very competitive, and it's coming down to how much the retailer will offer people per hour, and it's just insanely competitive. If you look across the board, some retailers, I'm going to point towards Amazon, are offering $15 to $21 an hour to work in the warehouses. So if you have a standalone retailer, or even if you're a big box retailer, it's hard to compete with that. So you're seeing the high demand for people that want to go out and spend. There's a lot of people that are taking holidays very seriously this year because, let's be honest, for the last 2 years, people really haven't bought any gifts, and there just isn't enough ways to recruit people to come in and work.
Well, Deirdre, as I was mentioning, these numbers are often revised, and in this November jobs report, it is underreporting the actual number of jobs added to the U.S. economy. They're always subject to revisions. So today's report shows that 82,000 more jobs were added in September and October, more than previously reported. So do you expect the same thing to happen again, and why? As I said, it seems like it's harder and harder to measure what's actually happening in the economy in real time, but or why? Why are these numbers off by that much every month?
It sure is. And Terry, we're going to see more of this. So this past data set in November actually had the lowest response rate from businesses in 13 years. A lot of this is just that businesses are trying to deal with the chaos of the pandemic. So not everybody has time to respond to the government's questions. I hate to be that blunt about it, but that's what it is. How many people have you employed? What are you paying them? How many hours are they working? So in a typical time, in a typical non-pandemic pandemic non-crisis moment, usually, let's say, a quarter of the responses from businesses to government in response to these government surveys are late. And so economists extrapolate, they estimate. But in this current environment where businesses are overwhelmed, it's definitely higher than a quarter. So yes, we're going to see more revisions, high highs and low lows, Terry.
And Hitha, President Biden addressed the nation today. We took it live here on ABC News Live and reiterated his winter COVID-19 strategy, optimistically seeking to give Americans more confidence in the safeguards in place ahead of this busy holiday shopping season and just the season itself. Does the retail sector share that optimism, you think?
You know, the National Retail Federation revised their numbers. They actually said that the numbers that they had put out, which were an increase from last year, I think we're seeing about an 8 to 13% of increase in sales, close to $1 trillion worth of sales about to happen during this holiday season, is actually potentially going to be higher. So I think what's happening right now is that certainly the president is putting these measures into place, but I really do think the consumer just wants to go out and shop. We're a society that likes to spend money, and there's been a lot of frugal fatigue. They really, you know, people just don't want to have another holiday season where they're not giving gifts and not indulging in the merriment of it all. So, you know, while those safety measures are in place, and of course we have this new variant that's rising, I think people want to move away, or at least try to mentally get away from what we had just gone through in the last 22 months, and at least have some semblance of the holiday season. You know, with that said, Oracle came out with a study and they said that 77% of people are still weighing very heavily when it comes to supply chain and variants, the COVID variants that are coming up. So people are certainly concerned, but I think that yearn to give gifts and shop and indulge in the holiday season is kind of trumping that.
Yeah, well, let's hope we can have a holiday season. People spending plenty of money, I think, is what the economy needs. As always, retail analyst with H² Research, Hitha Herzog, and ABC News business correspondent Deirdre Bolton. Thanks very much for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.